As an achiever, you're not defined by the goals you set, but by the habits you cultivate to reach them. The power of habit is not in the size of the changes we make, but in the consistency with which we make them. To paraphrase Aristotle, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. And in the end, it's not about the goals you achieve. It's about the person you become in the process of achieving them.
Welcome to the Legendary Life Podcast, where it's all about taking control of your health, losing fat, transforming your body, and living the life you deserve with celebrity fitness trainer and longevity enthusiast, Ted Ryce. Do you ever start a fitness program or a diet only to drop off after a few days, a few weeks, or maybe a month of following it because you just don't know how to stay consistent? And every time that it becomes challenging to stick with the plan, you end up giving up. And you feel like you're never going to get your health handled, or you have to wait for the right time to get your health handled. You feel like the right time, that's the secret. Well, I'm here today to tell you that's not true. And we're going to get into the power of habit, how small changes lead to big results for busy professionals. So if you're struggling to be consistent, I want you to stick around for today's episode because I'm going to tell you the story of a client who was struggling with this and the steps we took to get it handled once and for all. What is up, my friend? Welcome to the Legendary Life Podcast. I'm your host, health expert Ted Ryce, coach to entrepreneurs, founders, and other high-performing professionals. We produce this show for two reasons. Number one, the biggest challenge you're facing with getting in shape is information overload. Get rid of carbs. No, you have to eat carbs. Go keto. Go low fat. There's so many different perspectives, and I want to provide perspective for you here so you know what to focus on to get the best results while disregarding the minor details. I've been in this business for 24 years, and I get great success with my clients, and I want to distill that information for you here. Now, the second reason is I know some of you are going to want to work with a coach. You're a high performer, you know the value of coaching, and you want to fast track your success with your health to match the level of success that you have in your financial life or with your career or business. And I want you to know I'm the guy when you're ready for that leap. So let's talk about today's episode. Imagine this. One of my recent coaching clients, let's call him John, joined my program with a goal that many of us can relate to. He wanted to see his abs. He wanted to lose body fat. He wanted to look great in his board shorts at the beach and at the pool, summer-ready body. It was a clear, tangible goal that he was excited about. But as we began our journey, it quickly became apparent that he was struggling to maintain the habits needed to reach his goal. And every missed gym session, every break in his diet, it made him feel even more defeated. Can you relate? Now, I was there to encourage him, to remind him of the power of persistence and consistency, but he began skipping our calls. And one time when we badgered him enough to get on a call, because we don't let our clients disappear. We're saying, hey, how are you? What's going on? Let's hop on a call. We can work through this. We never give up on our clients. And when he hopped on our call, and when I asked him why he's been skipping the calls, the answer was a familiar one. He told me that showing up to the calls without having done what he needed to do made him feel bad. Now, I'm not the type of coach that beats you up for not doing the thing, not following the program. I'm a problem solver. I'm a troubleshooter. I don't say, hey, you need more discipline. Go check the boxes. That's not good coaching. But even then, he was still feeling bad because of putting pressure on himself. And it was a self-defeating cycle, one that seemed to be leading him towards giving up entirely. In fact, I thought John was done. We had done 6 months together, and it was time for him to renew. And I was sure he wasn't going to continue. In fact, he told me, I don't think it makes sense to continue. I'm just not doing what I need to be doing. But then on that last conversation, we got into a conversation that shifted everything. We started to talk about why improving his health was so important to him in the first place and why he took the plunge and joined my coaching group. And in the beginning, like many high achievers, John had bitten off more than he could chew. He wanted to see his abs. I wrote him programs, told him what to do nutritionally. And when he didn't hit his targets, it was demotivating. I mean, if you're not making progress, why keep going? What I say is going and working out and not seeing results is like going to work and not getting paid. Why keep going? But here's where we pivoted. We scrapped the previous program and we set a small, achievable goal. I said, John, your goal right now is simple. Show up to calls no matter what. Can you only make 15 minutes? Then show up to 15 minutes. It can only be 5 minutes, show up to 5 minutes. What we're looking for is to establish the habit of showing up to calls. And I should add this important nuance. I asked John, I want you to be really honest with me. If you could rate the value of our calls on a scale 1 to 10, 10 being the highest value, what would you rate them? And he said, Ted, you've been great. I feel like our calls are always an 8.5, a 9, 9.5. I said, fantastic. So we've established that you're getting value from the calls. And I also know from doing this for 24 years that if I can get a client to show up to the calls, I can help them overcome whatever challenge they're facing. So that was our initial goal. Hey, show up to the call. And once we locked in that habit, we began to build from there. Slowly but surely, John started to transform. He went from feeling constantly defeated to experiencing progress. He even started to lose weight again, even though we weren't really focused at all on losing weight. He felt less stressed. And perhaps most importantly, he gained a sense of confidence that he could achieve what he initially set out to if he just kept showing up. So I want to share with you 5 key lessons from John's story. The key lesson number 1 is start small. High achievers are no strangers to big goals, but when it comes to establishing new habits, starting small is key. The first habit to establish isn't necessarily the one directly tied to your goal, but the one that helps you build consistency. And in John's case, it was simply showing up to the calls. So if you're struggling with consistency, what I want to tell you is this. There's 2 different ways of looking at your program. Either you're optimizing for results or you're optimizing for consistency. If you are not consistent, you have no business with the perfect program, the perfect diet, the lofty goals. You have no business doing it. It is self-sabotage. But if you can optimize for consistency first by setting small goals, that will lead to huge results in the future. Key lesson number 2 is build on consistency. Once you've established a small habit, you can start to build on it. For John, once he was consistently showing up to calls, we could then add more habits related to his health and fitness goals. He started to walk more. It was incredible. I mean, I've been doing this for 24 years. And John's story, I hope you hear the passion in my voice, because although I don't have a sexy before and after for John yet, this is one of the coaching situations that is one of my most successful stories so far, because it's easy to get results with people. Oh, I'm doing keto and, I'm working out 8 times a week. And then it's like, okay, well, let's dial in your calories. Let's make sure you're eating enough protein, and let's scale back on the exercise to make sure you're, lifting weights maybe 3 to 4 times a week, and make sure you're using progressive overload, and boom, you see the before and after, the sexy before and after photos. But a story like John, there's not that many coaches who can work with a situation like that and get them to turn around completely, to do 180. And we've done that because we started small first,
then built on consistency. So the key lesson here is if you are struggling with consistency, optimize it first. And once you've established that consistency, then you can add. So build on consistency is that key lesson number 2. Key lesson number 3, persistence is key. Even when you feel like you're not making progress, try to remember John's story. He reminds us that persistence in maintaining your habits, even when you're not seeing immediate results, will eventually pay off. And his story isn't unique. We all face similar struggles when trying to create new habits. I'm facing some right now in regards to posting content across multiple platforms. So we're all struggling with habits until we get locked in the way we want to achieve the results that we desire. So it's in the small, consistent actions where big changes happen. It's showing up even when it's hard. That's what leads to transformation. And in the end, it was John's commitment to the process, his willingness to show up, that led him from a place of defeat to a place of confidence and achievement. And remember, you're not just building habits here. You're building the foundation for your success. Don't underestimate the power of showing up, because it's not about seeing your abs or achieving a specific goal. It's about setting the stage for your future self, for carving out the path towards the life that you want to live. So key lesson number 4, when the going gets tough, remind yourself why you started. This is so important. It's cliche, but it isn't cliche. It's true. Like John, you need to constantly connect with the deeper reasons behind your goals. When I have a client who's struggling like John, this is a common practice. I ask my clients, let me ask you something. I know you're struggling right now, but why did you sign up with me initially? Oh, because I was struggling with all the information. I just wanted a step-by-step routine. I like how you talked about sustainable change. And I'm like, okay, great. And why is this important to you to achieve? And I keep asking why until I get to that root, that belief, that identity, that challenge that they're facing, where they don't feel like they're successful because even though they have financial success, they feel like they even question their success in other areas because they struggle with this goal, or they're concerned about what their parents went through and don't want to repeat that process. They don't want to go down the same road, which is something I love my dad, love my mom, but man, I don't want to end up like them when it comes to health. So rediscovering your why, it helps you get connected to why this is important. Because when we start to struggle, we just focus on the struggle. Man, this is hard. Man, this sucks. Oh gosh, this is too much work. I'm just too busy to deal with this. But reconnecting to your why, understanding, you know what? Focusing on my health is one of the best things I can do. It's one of the few things out there that can transform your confidence, transform the way you feel about yourself. And it's not because you look better in the mirror, although that is part of it. It's because you changed your habits. You overcame some of the challenges of the cheap dopamine of hyperpalatable foods and the comfort of skipping your workouts or whatever your own challenge might be. So rediscovering your why. And key lesson number 5, embrace the journey. Progress is not always linear. There will always be setbacks and obstacles along the way. In fact, I got a client right now, he crushed it at the beginning of working with me for the first 3 months. But now he's at a point where the season of his business kind of changed. He got really busy, more stressed, had some unforeseen challenges. And I said, now remember when you first joined and you almost felt like you didn't need me? You're like, why am I even paying for this? I got this on lock. He never said that, but that's kind of the vibe. And I said, this is where I help you during these points. And this is why people fail, because they think they have it on lock. They think they have the habits locked in. But as soon as some challenges come, they start to struggle with the habits they feel like they have locked in. So they don't have them locked in. Locked in is you're able to navigate through whatever challenges come your way, no matter what they are. So, are you ready to take the first step? Remember, it doesn't have to be a giant leap. It just needs to be in the right direction. And once you start moving, your goal is to not stop. So show up every day, no matter what. And slowly you're going to start to notice changes. And before you know it, you'll be well on your way to achieving your goals. As an achiever, you're not defined by the goals you set, but by the habits you cultivate to reach them. The power of habit is not in the size of the changes we make, but in the consistency with which we make them. To paraphrase Aristotle, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. And in the end, it's not about the goals you achieve. It's about the person you become in the process of achieving them. I know some of you might say, oh yeah, whatever, but it's true. We become better people as we overcome our challenges. So embrace the power of habit and become the architect of your own success story. After all, your future is built today, one habit at a time. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope John's story inspired you to take a harder look at your own success and whether you're making some of the same mistakes that John made with trying to take on too much and then dropping off completely, that all or nothing approach. And just to remind you about the key lessons, key lesson 1 is start small. Key lesson 2, build on consistency. Key lesson 3, persistence is key. Key lesson 4 was rediscover your why. And key lesson 5, embrace the journey. And if this resonated with you and you feel like, you know what, I'm having some trouble. I'm a high achiever and I want my success with my health to match the success that I have in my business, in my career, hop on a call with me and let's talk. The best way to set that up is to go to legendarylifepodcast.com/apply. That's legendarylifepodcast.com/apply. So book a 15-minute call with me and let's talk about your challenges and what you want to achieve. Go to legendarylifeprogram.com/apply. That's legendarylifeprogram.com/apply. Hope you enjoyed this. Take action on what you learned today, and I'll speak to you soon. And on Friday, I'll be doing another Ask Ted episode. And the question I'll be answering is, how do you raise your testosterone naturally? I was asked this on Twitter, and I thought it was such a great question to dive into this topic, this conversation, this obsession about testosterone. And I do two things in this Ask Ted episode. Number one is I do tell you the most proven ways, scientifically backed ways to raise your testosterone. I talk about the number one reason why testosterone is low for the majority of men in the first place. And then I give you a bit of a perspective after being in this business, after having my own sort of obsession with testosterone in my earlier years and how I think about it now and what I think truly matters. And then I finish off with, if you do truly have low testosterone and you are in shape, you're lifting weights, you're lean, you're under 20% body fat, you're doing all the right things, but it's still low. I talk about some potential reasons it might be low, and I suggest what to do if you have any of those things. So if that's something you're interested in, if you're a guy and you're interested in testosterone optimization, you're going to want to listen. And if you're a woman and you're just kind of nodding your head in disinterest right now because it's not for you, it's still worth listening to because you can share it with your boyfriend or your husband. And I think if he's interested in this or needs to get his fire back, he's going to learn a lot from this episode. So enough about that. Speak to you on Friday. Have an amazing week. Until then, and I'll see you on the next episode.